really good.
So I look at the side of the tent, and I'm looking at all of these brands that are certainly globally recognized brands. Tell me some of the companies that are part of what Gibson Brands is right now.
Well, our latest addition, I'll start there, is Cakewalk. Cakewalk is a software company based in Boston that really pioneered digital work stations for audio production, primarily for prosumers, people who are very serious but not necessarily professional. And they are the leading company. They are on the, they've actually surpassed, in my view, Pro Tools, which is the big software a lot of recording engineers would use. And they have just a ton of experience and technology that can be applied not only in the area that they're well known for, but for other areas. So just today I was notified Cakewalk won 2 or 3 awards from like Keyboard Magazine as best product. And so I'm pretty psyched about that, as you could tell. But we have Onkyo, which is one of the top 3 AV receiver companies in the world, and people that are focused on AV receivers and audio, and they have a great superior product. They were the first AV receiver to do a lot of things, but most notably recently is to put a mobile device interface to allow you to control your audio system from your phone, iOS or Android or Windows. And they reflect a dedication to music, audio, and to innovation. And so I'm very proud to be associated with those guys. We also, not so long ago, bought a majority interest in TIAC. TIAC invented affordable recording. So before TIAC came around with a reel-to-reel product, only studios had recording equipment, and you'd pay, you know, the equivalent of hundreds of dollars an hour to use it. TIAC brought a product to market that the average person could afford to buy and revolutionized recording. And they went on to invent a product called the Porta Studio, which I'm sure you've seen. Exactly. Yeah. And
I had 3 or 4 of them.
You know, everyone has TIAC stories, but they really were this pioneering company who kept bringing wonderful technology to allow musicians and artists and producers to really avail themselves of this technology. And
Well,
so,
you know, it may have been that without that, the whole advent of home studio recording would never have happened.
absolutely. You know, both Cakewalk in terms of software and TIAC in terms of hardware were fundamental to what everybody is doing today. So many musicians grew up, you know, doing demos and so forth that they couldn't have afforded to do before that innovation came about.
What are some of the other music brands that you guys have brought into the Gibson Brands household?
Well, a very cool brand is Wurlitzer. Wurlitzer jukeboxes, of course, everybody knows, but Wurlitzer dates back to like the 1600s, where the Wurlitzer family in Germany, for some reason, originally made weapons, went into musical instruments. And so it's a tradition that dates back centuries. And they pioneered mechanical music players before jukeboxes, and when electrification came, they invented the jukebox product. And a little interesting fact is 50% of the records sold for almost 3 decades were sold to jukebox operators. You know, people couldn't afford phonographs. They were very, very expensive. And so the only way they could listen to recorded music was to go to their local bar or restaurant and listen on a jukebox. And they would rent jukeboxes for parties, and they would, you know, bring them in, and that would be the music of the day. So a really fascinating company with a rich, rich history. In our booth, we have the world's first drum machine, which Wurlitzer invented, because we were also organ people, right? And a lot of those big, huge organs in, you know, all these old theaters were Wurlitzer organs, pipe organs. And so
And of course, the Wurlitzer electric piano probably revolutionized the entire sound of rock and roll in the late 60s.
Absolutely, and you know, really they're one of two that brought electrification to the keyboard. And people like Stevie Wonder and lots and lots of people, so many tracks over a 15-year period had that Wurlitzer sound on it.
I think it was, what was his name, Spooner Wilson, who played with the Memphis, or the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, was one of the most famous Wurlitzer-sounding piano players. But the one theme that I'm getting here is the theme of firsts. It seems to me that, and not only the theme of firsts, but a theme of history. You know, I think of Les, for example, and how he was involved so intimately in the earliest days of the multi-track recording and of bringing echo to the world of the recording studio. But now I'm hearing more about literally firsts and innovations. All of these things all tie together to help create what you are now calling a lifestyle brand.
Yeah, innovation is about boldness, and you know, the first guy in the Army gets all the arrows, and when you innovate, you get a lot of grief. So, you know, we introduced the Les Paul guitar in 1953. We celebrated our 60th year of making that instrument, but we did not sell instruments in any quantity until 1965. And, you know, Les got ridiculed, and he said, what kind of guitar? Solid body stick is what it is. And but he knew, and he persevered, and he was right, and now it's the most popular guitar in the world. So innovation has a cost, and not a lot of people are willing to pay that cost. But that's what Gibson is about, is bringing new, better, exceptional experiences and doing what it takes to do that.
Thank you, Henry. This is Frank Radice for our continuing series on the future of content. See you next time.